Hey, everybody. Good evening. PBR Monday season finale. Last one for a while until we start up Hot Stove League sometime. I don't know exactly when that's going to be because this year my family and I planned about a month in Key West, and it's going to be from the middle of November till the middle of December. So I don't know if we'll get anything in before that. We might because there's some teams that I wasn't able to get on PBR Monday that finished that I would really like to sooner rather than later. So I may occasionally advertise an odd one here or there until we get all those teams out of the queue. So you might see a few of these later in October and early in November, but only if the weather sucks enough that I can't ride my motorcycle. Hey, Jim. But once I get back, we'll do the Hot Stove League. We'll start during the holidays. We'll go through January sometime, maybe into February. There will be a little bit of a gap in there once again when I take a few spring trips that I've got planned. And then starting in April, we'll get back into it all through the 2022 tour season. So while we're waiting for one of our guests to join us, let me just give you again a little bit of preview of coming attractions. There he is for the 2020 tour. We are going to add quite a bit of cool new stuff to the 2020 tour, but we don't want to make it. I don't want to make it anyway. I haven't talked to the rest of these guys yet. Hey, Andrew. But I think the general feeling is 10 riding days is enough. So I think what we're going to do is notch some stuff out that nobody's in love with. And I think we can do that in one particular place and still maintain our intervals. So what the thought is that your rest day in Pocatello may not be a full rest day anymore. We may suggest you leave Pocatello sometime between 3 and 5 in that afternoon, and we're going to take you on a much shorter route to American Falls. That's the thinking right now. This is nowhere near final. We'll have to talk about this a little bit more. But you'll probably go to American Falls. You could still be there easily by 7 or 8 o'clock. And then day 3 is going to be a bodacious, long day. It'll be kind of like day 8 is right now. But a lot of it will be fast. There'll be some transfer section on it, so it won't be a particularly grueling day, but you are going to go a long way. And the thinking is you may end up in Mackay at the end of that day. And then the next day, we'll Smoky Bar store and sort of preserve the intervals we have. Day 9 is going to be quite a bit different. Day 8 is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to Laksha anymore. I think we've already sort of among the folks I've been speaking with, we've decided that Laksha makes it very difficult to make day 9 as cool as we can make it. And now that I know some reliable way up north guys, Jim and Andrew, we have an opportunity to really make day 9 special. I think we can put cool trails in it, and we can make it much better than it's ever been in the past. We can preserve the cool stuff that's already there, I think, but we can add some killer stuff right outside of Wallace that I think everybody's really going to like. So that's what we're looking at right now, just in terms of the physical route. We're going to try to keep it to the same number of riding days. Rest day in Pocatello is likely not to be a full day. And day 3 is likely to be a really long day, but kind of a flowy, fast day as well. A day when you can cover some ground. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'm not making any promises yet. The other thing that I'm going to do, and I'll take advice on this from the group that's helping me plan the route, but normally when it comes to rules changes and things like that, I do that myself because I don't want anybody else taking the heat in case these things are unpopular. So I'll listen to this group that I have put together, but this will be all on me. I think that what we're going to do next year, and this was actually a Jimmy Lewis suggestion, which I've thought about for a few years. We're going to offer like any 3-person team that wants to queue up at the beginning of the season to go through. If they want to all carry saws, chainsaws, not hand saws, if they want to carry chainsaws, we'll allow a 3-person team to go out first with limited support. And if they get all the way through it, we'll give them jersey numbers. That way we can avoid this issue that's gotten to be bigger and bigger the last few years. People going out, and there's nothing wrong with this currently, but a lot of people going out and sawing a lot of trail who are actually going to ride the route this year. That's in their best interest to do that. They'd like to not have to saw while they're actually on the tour. But I want to take care of that in a way that doesn't involve as much pre-riding, because the other thing that we're going to do is I think we're going to start a combination of awarding points to people that haven't ridden any of it and maybe penalizing a little bit people who have pre-ridden extensively. We're still going to allow a pre-ride of day one with no penalty. We're going to encourage people to continue to do that. But, if you a few years ago, there was a fellow that rode the whole thing, then came back and tried to do a tour of Idaho, like right after he got back. And that, I hadn't ever really thought about people doing things like that. It's one of those kind of things that kind of comes out of the clear blue. You just don't think anybody's going to put that much effort into it. And again, it's not against the rules. So that guy, he did the smart thing. He didn't do anything wrong. But it puts people that haven't ridden any of it at kind of a severe disadvantage. And I want to make sure that we do something to even that up point-wise a little bit. So I'm going to think about how to do that. So there'll be some penalty, not really significant, I don't think, but there'll be some penalty for returning teams. If you go out and pre-ride that season, the penalty may be slightly greater. And if you haven't ever ridden any of it, we're going to return to what we did a few years ago, which is give you some points if you haven't been anywhere near the route at all. I think that's a way to even it up a little bit. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for bonus sections next year. We're going to have multiple ways that you can ride on any given day. And, you can put them together in a manner that gets you the points that you think you need. So I think the route is going to get better next year. But it's another one of these kind of years where it's going to take a big step. It's not just evolutionary next year. It'll be a revolutionary step because it'll be a pretty big change in the tour. I'm trying to get it in the final form because, as I've told everybody many times, I'm not doing this 5 years from now. So I want to get the route in sort of its legacy form in the next couple of years, and I've assembled the people I think that can help me do that. They all live around here with a couple of exceptions, and the couple of exceptions are people that run other events and can kind of know what it's like to be the person that's on the hook for all this stuff. One fella is in the group because he's the last person that I know that rode the tour 2 years in a row, and the tour changed quite a bit between those 2 years. So I want to have him in here to get his feelings on, how drastic he thinks these changes are. So again, none of this is set in stone right now. I'm going to spend a few weeks as soon as it is Frozen either makes it or retires. Then I'm going to sit down and start talking with these guys about that. We'll do a few Zoom meetings. We'll chat quite a bit, emails back and forth. We'll start to get the rough idea of what we're going to do next year. The mystery route's going to continue. That was really popular this year. I didn't have a single team tell me that they hated the mystery route, and I had most teams tell me they thought it was a really good feature of the tour. We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to come up with some little navigational challenges for you here and there. So that's what it's looking like in 2022, but we're still in 2021, and I want to bring in right now some guys that put the boots to it. There we go. Well, let me see if I can fix this. Now we got it. Here we go. Team Armadillo. So a while ago when David Powell first showed up, I was looking like this. And I think he was a little worried because he assumed that his interview may be going with the DJ. He might have something to say about these most heinous and vituperative set of chuckleheads who contact the DJ and start talking about how they got these perfect tracks. There ain't no problem with my tracks, DJ. Why you got to look at our tracks? Our tracks is perfect. That's what they tell me. Now, those of you who know that is the kind of talk that is particularly associated with chuckleheads of the most heinous and vituperative variety. But we're not going to do any of that. These guys made it. And congratulations, fellas. Last year, I've told this story before, but let me start out before you guys get going and talk about what happened last year. So the Garmin system gets hacked. I think it was a ransomware attack. And it happened to get hacked and brought the whole system down the very day these guys are on day 6. They were about 50 feet away from where they needed to be at one point. They're out of water. They've been out there all day. They're 50 feet away. I could clearly see it because they've got the Garmin system, which has pretty good resolution base maps. And then when I dial up the satellite photos, I can see where they're at. They are 50 feet from where they need to be. And I am typing in all caps, trying to contact them through their PLBs for like 3 hours, 50 feet to your left. And because the Garmin system was down, those messages didn't get through. That was a long night for you guys, wasn't it?
It was a long night and a long year.
And it was a long ride back from Tendoy, as I recall.
Yes,
or Ledor. I think I actually got you guys at Ledor the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us all about, so you know how the drill goes. Tell us about last year a little bit, and then tell us about, maybe what changed in your thinking this year, and then just take us through your ride this year, the highs and the lows, how many times you cursed me, and stuff like that.
Well, I think everybody knows last year. I mean, we had a really good run going last year, and we were doing everything right. And then on day 6, it just fell apart in a massive hurry. I mean, it's kind of funny looking back, and all the things that aligned at the same time, and we went from heroes to zeros in about an hour. So, that hurt. We actually thought about coming back last year because we knew it was going to, we're both a little OCD. We knew it was going to haunt us for a year, and we almost came back. And I'm glad we didn't, because the same storm that got Jeff Jensen would have ended up getting us. So whatever reason, it all worked out. And so we spent 11 months figuring out, planning. I mean, there wasn't a day in those 11 months that we didn't think about the tour, plan for the tour, strategize about the tour, buy parts for the tour. Thank God our wives are as good as they are.
Yeah, I think I might have talked to Patch more than my wife over the last year.
That'll get you in trouble.
Yeah, no, it was an obsession.
I finally talked to Dave today. I've been in Colorado for a week, and
tell everybody what you've been doing in Colorado. Tell everybody what you've been doing.
I've been riding buggies. As soon as I got back from the tour, I worked for 4 days, and then
went riding side by sides.
Loaded up the side by sides,
consorted with the enemy.
Rented cabins, and rode around the mountains for another 7 days. I love the mountains. It's my paradise. So,
well, why don't you move to the mountains? What are you doing living in Texas?
Well, I used to live in Colorado, and everybody that's from Texas loves Texas, and those who moved here say, "Well, I'm not from here, but I got here as quick as I can." And I still try to figure out how I ended up here, because I love Texas. We got great friends here. I do miss the mountains, but we got good folks here, so it's okay.
All right. Well, tell us about the tour of Idaho.
So we spent 11 months planning and studying those maps, and we learned a lot. I mean, I think that you outlawing tracks, was a great thing in the end. We studied harder. I mean, I know most of the trails by name. I had a pretty good picture of the route in my head for the entire tour. And problem was, we planned for 11 months, and we had to do the minimum amount required in the tour with 2 points. Strategy, our main goal, our main motto for Team Armadillo was get in early. That was our number one goal, was get in early every night. And then
goal.
Start early and finish early.
Yeah, and not get greedy. And
That
and
kind of
then
got blown up this year.
it got blown up in a hurry. We're watching Spooner, and that guy's a rock star. After doing Fish Creek Trail and Ant Hill, and as hard as it was to navigate for us, I mean, that dude's a rock star. So
we had many discussions about Jim as we were riding through some of that. Going, I don't know how he did it.
It's really unusual again that a soloist is the first person through, especially that early. Last guy to do it was Jeff Jensen, and you know what those two guys are all about. They just they got what it takes. But when I would communicate with Jim through his PLB, and there were some times when it wore on him a little bit.
As it will anybody.
Yeah,
it's tough. So, we planned for the 11 months and we weren't going to do that much. And then the fires popped up and the challenge points were changing and the route was changing. And, we didn't want to get all the way up there and be short and have to, do this crazy stuff. So we on our truck ride up there, we just blew our whole strategy out and said, we're getting aggressive from day one. So every day.
So you rode the worst bonus section on the whole tour right out of the chute.
I think we rode a few of them.
Well, we figured since, we'd basically ridden days 1 through 6. I mean, 6 was quite a bit different, but we'd ridden days 1 through 5 that, if we were to go ahead and throw in some of the bonus sections right off the bat, at least we had a fighting chance.
Yeah. No, as much as a bad time I give you guys, there was nothing wrong with that strategy. I might have avoided a couple of those just because the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But again, this year, everybody that finished this year, everybody that made a deep run into it, this has been one of the most adventurous years ever, because what happened to you guys happened to everybody else. Yep. Happened to Jim, happened to Sean, happened to your mom. It happened to everybody. Everybody's trying to improvise on the fly. And to me, that's kind of cool because that's what we were always doing back in the early days, right? There wasn't really a set route. We were figuring it out as we went along. And so you guys got to experience a lot of that this year. And I know at the time it probably didn't seem like a bonus, but in retrospect, when you look back on it, big adventure, man, the more you don't know what to expect, the higher the adventure, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was good. We'd made a few changes from last year. We ended up buying a Garmin Montana, the new one, the big one, and we went out on our first test ride. And even though that thing's got a huge screen, it's just as difficult to see as the smaller unit was. So we ended up using 2 Trail Tech side by side, and I'm telling you, that's the setup with the.
That's what Jimmy Lewis uses.
Well, they came out this year with downloadable base maps, so we had the entire route base maps on both of those Trail Techs, and without tracks on there, I mean, all the waypoints are so visible. I mean, it was navigation really wasn't that much of a problem until day 10, and we'll save that for the end.
That story for the end.
Yeah,
but you guys were a team. It was a little hard to convince you because last year that was an issue. I kept telling you guys tracks are no bueno, tracks are no bueno. You're better off just getting to the trail and riding it. Set an alert if you need to when that waypoint comes up so you can pay attention because it's there for some reason. But it's better not to try to keep looking at your GPS and follow a line. It's better just to get to the trailhead and ride the freaking trail. And this year, you guys became convinced that that's actually the best way to do it.
No, without a doubt. I knew that. I mean, we studied so much that, pictorial in the brain, trail names. I mean, we're coming up here. We're going to turn left on Left Fork Cherry Creek. I mean, we knew all of that. And with the downloadable base maps, you can confirm what your brain is already telling you. Navigation was so much more improved this year. And I'd have to say, the day 2 mystery route was cool, but the day 9. So, the route was changing while we were on the route. So you were emailing us a PDF of trail numbers and stuff. And so on day 9 that morning, we got a late start, but the reason for that was we hadn't had time to do day 9. So, we had to sit in the motel for over an hour. Luckily I had a Cal Topo account. I learned about Cal Topo and Gaia and all that. We had a card reader that plugged into our phone.
There you go.
We plotted out following the written instructions, looking at Cal Topo, zooming in and putting waypoints. And, once you got all that done, you got to download that to the Trail Text.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed, I thought that we both thought that was a neat navigational challenge, if you will. That, I don't know if you want our suggestions, but to me, one day of the tour may end up looking like that, just to weed out those like us last year that would have had no ability. If we'd have had that happen to us last year, we would have had no ability to do that.
Yeah, we're going to do that next year, but you're going to get the route late enough that you can't sit around in your hotel room and put waypoints on it. You're going to have to just find your way to the trails. Hey, you guys only finished 1 point over. I may have to deduct a point for that. No, that was actually a smart thing to do.
No, we could have.
Those day 9 trails were pretty killer that Andrew and Jim gave us, weren't they?
They were the favorite day of the tour.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Without question.
And if you could have done the old day 9 trails with the new ones, day 9 is my favorite day too, just based on the trails that used to be on there. I never liked Lundy Ridge Rock Garden, but all that stuff off State Line Trail, all the stuff up near Simmons Ridge, that's all very cool stuff. I haven't done most of the new stuff that they gave us this year. Just a little. I haven't done any of that loop you did, but I've done a little bit of the loop that we're going to add to that next year, and that stuff is fantastic.
It's
steep
up there.
Though. You go up and down.
You need to go up there, Martin. Bad Tom is a bad Tom.
Believe me, Andrew and Jim are going to beat me to death, I think, about the second week of October.
Now, day 9, man, it's awesome. It was raining on us that whole day, and, the conditions sucked, but it's so beautiful up there. And the trails were so good. We were really just having a ball. And then rolling into Wallace is just awesome. And Dawn, there couldn't be a better person to welcome you, and being able to walk through that nice little town to a restaurant, and man, day 9's really, really cool. Whatever you do, I'd make sure the guys can get in like by 6 or something and enjoy that. But just my 2 cents. So
no, that's going to be preserved, because we're going to start day 9 at Superior like we did this year. That's where everybody's going. And then we're going to skip a section of Beater Jeep Road, I think. So you're going to start at Missoula Lake. So you're going to start at the State Line Trail. And that'll be your day 9, just State Line Trail and trails that are off that all the way into Wallace. I think we can easily get everybody in there by 6 or 7 o'clock, but it's going to be like a single track festival all day long.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had plans of bringing friends up there next year and going on the southern part, but now we're considering going up to that northern part.
It's pretty cool up there. Those guys in the St. Joe, man, they got it going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Just don't ever let them take you on anything they consider a gnarly trail.
Yeah, so the only other preamble to the stuff is, we'd added a left-hand rear brake for the tour this year. And, I didn't like the way that sucker fit coming into the tour and was about to take it off, but that thing saved our butts so much on the tour. For example, on Ant Hill, I mean, we didn't struggle too much getting up Ant Hill, but had we not had that left-hand rear brake, I think it'd have been a different story. So those were the changes or the prep for day 1 or the tour this year. So we started out with day 1. I'll let Dave go with day 1.
Yeah. So obviously we decided to start just later. Normally we'd have probably started somewhere around 3:30. And of course, with us planning on doing that bonus section on day 1, we decided to start. I think we maybe around 5 o'clock, we probably hit the trail. And of course, that bonus section is right off the bat. And you obviously you're climbing up and you're looking at, really the way I gauged it was I was looking at my GPS on the elevation. And once I got up high enough on elevation, I kind of made that left, the left turn to cut across like the trail shows, but probably should have climbed a little higher and made that a little easier. But, we farted around there for what, about an hour?
A little over an hour it took us to do that.
Yeah, but
there were people up at way early in the morning all over the United States shaking their heads going, what are those two chuckleheads doing?
We talked about that. I go, there's people looking at us right now going, what the hell are you doing?
Well, we talked about it. We argued about it.
Yeah, we actually we went back and forth quite a bit going, and I'm not sure he was really ready to go do it, but I think we wanted that point on day one. We wanted a bonus point on day one to just start out ahead. But obviously it took us a little while. We made it to the top, and day one wasn't bad for us at all. I mean, we got a little worried when I think it was not worried. We got to Kent's Canyon, and I honestly didn't remember that thing being quite so rough.
Oh, no, this year it was different. A volume of water about equivalent to what's in Lake Mead in a normal year drained down there about a week before you guys got there.
But, we made it through, and I don't know if it was after Lava Hot Springs, but Patch started getting a little he wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
He was looking a little pale, in fact. I was a little worried. I think it must have been and then Martin, you started pinging us, said, hey, call me when you get to Lava Hot Springs. And we're like, oh, Lord, what'd we do? And, of course, you give us the option to go try the hill climb on the challenge section to try to get a point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we went back and forth on that, too. Like, well, do we try it or just keep on rolling? And I said, well, let's go see how bad the trail is leading up to that. And, of course, you're riding along and the trail looks – I'm like, well, this is bad. This isn't bad. And then all of a sudden it just goes, whoop, goes straight. You're not straight up, but it headed up that hill. And I made a couple of good runs at it, but there was zero moisture in that ground. I mean, I could not get any traction to get out of there. I know we were close, but again, we didn't want to, we had a time, how much time we wanted to give it in our head and not go over that. We kind of messed around a little bit. We were getting close, and we both said, let's head out. We don't want to be out of water and out of strength for the rest of the day.
It was another one of those cases where we were 50 feet.
Yes.
From the finish.
That last switchback is a killer.
Yeah.
And then obviously you go through Ingham and all that, Ingham down to Sedgwick and all that stuff, but none of that stuff was that bad. And then that last run over to Chinese Peak, that thing is forever.
Wow. Yeah,
it never seems, it's almost like a big Southern Butte. It just seems to never get that close, almost running away from us. But what did we make it in, about 9:30 again?
You did. Yeah, you guys got it in a really good time, especially considering that you tried to get that point riding up Reed Canyon. So we got about 15 minutes left. Let's move on.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so day two, we busted out day two. We did the day two challenge. It was one of our selected challenge sections. It was a long one. It was good, but it was a long one. And that climb up to right before Scout Mountain, last year when we were going down it, we were going, man, I'm glad we ain't going up it. We got to go up it this year, but no, it was good. I really enjoyed it. And the same as last year. We really enjoyed the morning of day two all the way to American Falls. It was great. We got out to the desert. I'm pretty sure we nailed our mystery route unless the DJ says otherwise. We blew a couple of corners and had to, turn around, but I'm pretty sure we nailed that. And we ended up getting Arco about oh shit. And we ended up getting into Arco about about 7 or so. So day 2 is pretty uneventful for us.
It'd be pretty uneventful for you if you know how to find your mystery route out in that desert now. I see you talk about these perfect tracks, and I see you going this way, that way, every way except the right way. I don't know what to think about them boys. Except their navigation is the most heinous and vituperative variety. That's all the DJ got to say.
Yeah. All right, day 3, Dave. Let's get on past the DJ.
Yeah, get past that before you get us in trouble. So obviously we started out day 3. You know, we kind of talked about that the bonus section right off the bat. You know, Martin, you said the coming down the hill probably wasn't too bad, but if we got down that hill and it was the trees and stuff were blown down.
I was amazed that you guys did that, not knowing whether or not it was sod.
Well, we actually, yeah. We kind of went in and checked a little and then decided,
So you went in the bottom to look?
We went in the bottom. So we went in the bottom, and there was a bunch of motorcycle tracks down in there. I mean, people had been riding that quite a bit. So
that's a smart thing to do.
So when you look at it, some of these trails you look at and you're like, well, there's no motorcycle tracks. Probably hadn't been ridden, but this one had quite a bit. So we went ahead and decided to go ahead and try it. And sure enough, it was clear all the way through. So
that downhill is pretty impressive, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it goes. Yeah, I wouldn't. And you're right. I would not want to climb that out of there. Not with a fully loaded bike, anyway.
Yeah.
Of course, everything was pretty good. Day 3, of course, we passed on the 3-man.
So the homeless guy holding up the sign couldn't talk you into doing it?
No,
we didn't see.
Yeah, we didn't see anybody trying to talk us into it. So we sure weren't in a hurry to try it.
It was hot that day, and we thought about it.
Well, there's water down there. There's plenty of water in that bonus section.
Yeah, we didn't bite on that. We caught that stink bait. That was stink bait, and we didn't want none of it.
What was the team? Coleman Stove. When those guys got to Smoky Bar Store, I got the most terse PLB message I've ever gotten. That was a dick slapper.
Yeah.
So one thing we did this year, over last year, that even if we'd gotten past day 6 last year, I'm not sure how good we would have done. We had no way last year to get any water, out of the creeks and streams.
Mm-hmm.
We used that more this year. I drank 2.5 gallons of water on day 1.
Wow.
So we would have been in trouble with the water last year. But, like I said, day 3 was pretty uneventful for us. And, we made it into Smoky Bar pretty early.
So day 4.
Day 4, we left Smoky Bar. She packed us up with some breakfast burritos. Paradise Peak Trail was a lot rougher than we remembered. Actually, most of the trail this year was a lot rougher than we remembered. But we got through Paradise Peak, and then Mule Creek was awesome, like usual, and descending down into Smiley Creek, I guess. And then we really enjoyed that next section of single track.
Grand Prize Gulch.
Grand Prize Gulch was just awesome, and we were both rolling and feeling really good. And
then you decided to do something else goofy.
Well, we came up on Germania Creek, and we were both rolling, and we were both feeling good and fresh, and we're like, we don't know how we're going to feel come 5 o'clock tonight. So, again, let's do something different. I hadn't seen anybody attempt that, and since we've been involved with the tour, so we went for it, and it's a good one. It took us I think we gauged it about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And if it would have been blocked either going up or going down, it would have been bad. And mainly if it would have been a big snowfall year, the creek crossings were still very deep. And, it's dry this year. So I would not recommend that to any future teams if there was any chance of snowfall being high, because the creeks were deep.
Well, wait a minute. In the past, hasn't it not been recommended to any tour teams in the past?
No, it hasn't.
So why is it that you say in the future that should not be recommended to any tour teams when I think there's continuity there? That's been the recommendation the whole time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It probably is not a good one, but we got through it.
We made it.
We got through it, and we didn't. Neither one of us fell, and it was fun, and we both were smiling at the end. So, maybe it wasn't the best choice, but we both enjoyed it. So then we're going up Little Boulder Creek, and we got stopped by Forest Service guys on horseback. They were actually checked for our Idaho stickers, which we had, and then of course we passed a caravan of pack goats, which I
saw
never ever had seen. And then the rest of the day 4, we went to Sawmill, got lunch. We bypassed Custer, didn't even consider it. And we did do the 4DD bonus section, which part of the nominal route last year, and it was fine. It's just long. I was like ready for that one to be over. And then, we went down a different canyon because of the Braun Brothers reunion in Chalice, we ended up staying at Sawmill. So that cost us 30 miles on day 4 and 30 miles on day 5. So day 4 was
You should have seen my phone light up that night. What are those guys doing going down the wrong canyon? I told them it was okay. That's what
I appreciate that you gave us that little bit. I mean, any little bit in that scenario helped because we were.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, there was no doubt. I mean, once you did that bonus over in the Germania, I felt so bad for you. I said, yeah, that's the least I could do to let them take a little bit off at the end of the day because you guys are downplaying how hard that is to do unloaded bikes.
Yeah. So then, Sawmill was great. I mean, we got a new trailer. He'd set up a new double wide trailer, and I mean, it was nice. So on to day 5.
Yeah. So obviously we started on day 5. We're doing some sawing, lifting the bikes over some trees. Yeah. What is that on Eddy Creek Trail? Then you know what? We did the day 5 challenge, which was just for everyone. There's nothing hard about it other than it is so long. And I won't call it boring, but it's a little boring. It's just road. And then the last piece of it's a single, you're doing a little bit of single track, but pretty, for the pretty easy challenge section for us. Then you with the fires and all that, we got up to that, the 45th parallel there. And we had really planned on doing the last bonus section on day 5. We were going to try to go ahead and get it. But after we got to the 45th parallel and started backtracking to get out, we decided not to. Then once we got down to the highway heading into Salmon, I actually ended up running out of gas. So thank God we didn't try it because we would have been 10 miles into the middle of that thing and I would have been out of gas. So they were doing some road construction. We pull up on it. My bike dies, won't start. I end up having to lay it on the side and get all the gas out of the right side to the left side. And I had about a half inch of gas when we hit the gas station going into Salmon to the convenience store there. So somebody was watching over us that day. We would have been in trouble.
All right, 10 minutes. Let's rip through the rest of this.
Yep. Day 6, we actually stayed at an Airbnb there, and it was really nice. And it was so nice that we decided we were going to sleep an extra hour. And man, that was like a lifesaver. So we got up day 6, and man, we were both like feeling like brand new, day 1 all over again, ready to go. And we ripped through that first loop. That one trail out to the Wallace Lake View was still a lot of downfall, and we had to hop a lot of stuff, but got through it pretty quick. And we felt really good. We were at North Fork by 10:30, something like that. So, so we went through, ripped up to to the divide trail, and about that time we were advised that the divide trail was now clear. So at that point, we decided we were going to descend Ditch Creek and come back up Axe Park and then hit the divide trail and try to get all 5 of those points. And, going down Ditch Creek, I before the first switchbacks hit a rock and I went off. I mean, completely off, where you're like, oh my God. And luckily the bike fell over and just got off the trail, and I'd actually flipped halfway down. I got up, I was like, okay, I'm good. Nothing wrong. Everything was good. So we now it's like, what are we going to do with the bike? So we both, basically bulldogged that down to the next switchback. So we dodged a major bullet there, and we got on down through Ditch Creek, and damn, that thing just beat you to death. But we stopped at Allen Lake and we got refreshed, but then it's another like 30 minutes of a beating. So we got down Ditch Creek, went and got our challenge point, headed over to Axe Park. And, we didn't know much about Axe Park, but I mean, as soon as we started up, there's this huge tree root on this cross side hill thing, and I was tired, and Dave got over it, and I came through behind him. He's like, all right, come on. And I just freaking nailed it, thinking I could bounce over it. Well, it just bounced me right off. And again, down off the side hill I go. And, at that point, we had decided, we're tired. We just dodged 2 major bullets, and we need to eject. So we were in the process of turning around when our POB went off, and you were going, hey, you want some opinions or whatever, I think you're about to advise us that we're being stupid. And we were already in the process of turning around. So day 6, we ended up finishing out the Spooner route, going up twin whatever, and up the divide trail to the ski resort. And we got to North Fork about 7:30 or so. But again, day 6 came that close to biting us again, and we're very fortunate. So,
all right, we got 5 minutes left. Let's try to rip through this.
All right, yeah, we get into day 7. Of course, it's one of the days we hadn't ridden yet. I mean, everything was going pretty good for us till we got all the way up to I don't know what a couple of miles from Elk City, and my shifter falls off. Of course, now I've got to backtrack and try to go find my shifter. I had a spare shifter, but I really wanted to find the other shifter to put back on. So luckily we found it. He had an extra bolt. We rigged it up and got it tight enough to get into Elk City. Had a good hamburger there at the gas station. Ended up leaving Elk City with
8 gallons.
Yeah, we had about 8 spare gallons of fuel. So we had 16 gallons of fuel with the tanks.
All right, let's fast forward to day 8, because that's the one of the crux days. You already talked about 9 a little bit. Let's wrap it with 8.
Okay.
All right. So day 8, we got through Peking. We were worried about Peking, but ended up enough people had pre-rode and pre-cleared day at Peking. That wasn't any problem. Fish Butte was awesome. Fish Creek sucked. Kudos to Spooner. He's a badass to be the first one through that mess.
Yeah.
Ant Hill was no issue, largely to the credit of the left-hander brakes. They are awesome. We attempted the Junction Mountain Trail, but there was no evidence that trail had been ridden or sawed. And we got in about 5 miles. It was blocked. It was getting close to dark. We decided we'd turn back and hit the road to Scurvy. You pinged us, offering us a point to ride out to Scurvy Saddle, but again, we looked at our gas, looked at the time, looked at our condition, and we decided that was 30 miles in the wrong damn direction, and we'd already planned on doing the day 9 bonus. So, at that point, I think we were even on points, and again, we'd already planned on the day 9 bonus, so that was the option. that we chose, and it was still a long ride down to Superior.
Yeah.
From Scurvy
All right.
to
We got to wrap it up here. So take a few minutes just to closing thoughts, closing comments, and stuff like that.
All right. So I just got to tell the story about day 10. Of course, it's an easy day. And you guys are watching us on the POBs, and you're like, hey, these guys can't figure out how to get to the top of the mountain. We come up to this split, and I start heading up, and I stop. Our mics aren't working. I said, hey, we're sure we're going the right direction. He goes, no, we need to go down this road here. And then so I go down the road. Patch is sitting on the hill, and I get down the road, and I don't see him. Beacons aren't working. Mics aren't working, and I'm in meltdown mode. So I come back, and I drop down another trail for some crazy ass reason, and of course end up in a mile, and I'm like, I'm going the wrong direction. So I turn around, and I'm coming back up at race pace. Well, Patch is chasing me down at race pace. We come within about 12 inches of yard selling it from
I hit him.
a mile from the top of that mountain.
I hit him with my handlebars, and
Yeah, he hit me right in the side with the handlebars on the vest. That's how close.
Both of us at race pace head on. It was like, oh my God, we're going to DNF the Tour of Idaho again a mile from the finish.
Because I wouldn't let him talk.
The only team in history that ever missed the last turn up to Sundance Mountain. The only team in history.
Now, DJ can give a shit about that navigation.
And I'll tell you, the only thing that was in my mind is Martin says that it is Boulder City on the way to the top of Sundance. And I am looking for this massive boulder road, and it never appeared.
Well, I don't know what roads you did ride. Go tell them what you did. You talking about riding out, missing turns, riding single track trail? Who the hell know what you boys do?
Yeah.
All I know is that you can't find your way to the top of Sundance Mountain. And I say there's something wrong with anybody that ride the entire Tour of Idaho, ride themselves 2,000 some odd miles of Sundance Mountain, and get lost on the last turn. What's wrong with you?
We damn sure figured a way to do it.
So in final seriousness and final, I mean, Martin, again, thank you. Again, thanks to Donna and Kaylin and everybody along the way, and all the guys who saw that trail. It was an awesome adventure. I'll cherish the memories for the rest of my life, and just thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Dave Lucas, any closing comments?
Yeah, I was going to say my only concern is I'm not sure what we're going to do next. There's nothing much harder. I don't think there's anything harder than this.
Yeah, there are people who would disagree with that, but I think in terms of, the overall adventure and stuff, I mean, certainly, Erzberg and things like that are probably more difficult. But
yeah, but you're racing.
Yeah.
This is an adventure that's very difficult mentally, physically, and riding, like you say, is just a small piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy that figured that out better than anybody else is Sean Smith, one of our soloists this year. He has a background that's real similar to mine, and he rolled through it partially because he understands what motivates this kind of thing. He got all that entirely. And people that have only ridden motorcycles kind of don't really get what this is all about until sometimes it's too late. All right, I got to move on to the next team.
Now, one last thing. We were going to say day 6 was not doable. All 5 trails were not doable, and then Sean Smith did it.
Yeah,
he's a badass.
Yeah,
no, he's a badass.
He did it. He not there. I can't disagree at all. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you very much. Yep. I'll be talking to you too soon. Okay.
See you later, Martin. Thanks.
All right. Cheers. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up my next team here. Both these guys are here, ready to be brought in. Let's see. All right. Let me get. All right. I think we got it now. Team Your Mom. My favorite photograph of the Tour of Idaho this year is you two standing at the top of Kent's Canyon. That's calendar material right there. I'm telling you, your photo on top of Oxford Peak is a pretty darn cool one too. But the one thing I want to know is, how did you guys hack my brain and make every decision that I would have made the whole way? I've never seen anybody do that. Every time you guys had to make a decision, you did exactly what I would have done. And I don't know if that's smart or not, but basically You did exactly what I would have done in every intersection. And now when I go to sleep at night, I'm a little worried. I look for the wires in my pillow or something.
Yeah, I mean, just listen to your PBRs for all the days. That's kind of what we did, and tried to learn from what were the hard ones and which ones to avoid. So,
well, except for Sundance, you guys look like you were having a good time the whole time. That Sundance interview, there were some people said, "Man, those guys looked like they were beat," which of course is true. But again, just sort of take us through how you found out about this, your preparation a little bit, then briefly. We got about 45 minutes. Let's just go through your days.
okay. I think I first found out about it or heard about it. It was probably around holiday time last year, Christmas time. And I think it was Michael Knight's videos. I came across one of his Tour of Idaho videos and watched that and just thought, this thing looks awesome. And then I found your Motorcycle Jazz website. And I remember telling Caleb about Christmas time about it. And, hey, this is something we should do. With the mindset of thinking, in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll do it. And he decides that we're going to do it this next year. And so he kind of talked to me a little bit about it and said, are we going to do this? I said, well, I need to get a different bike. I didn't want to turn my 300 into a Tour of Idaho bike. And so I was still thinking a couple years. And so he kind of, left me in the dust and started planning without me, reserved the hotels and everything as a soloist. And then I said, I don't want you to have all the fun. So I kind of jumped on board, middle to end of April and bought a 350. And that was in May, and just started planning really hard from then on. I don't know what you want to add to the prep or finding out about it, Caleb.
Yeah, no, that was, I was going to do it solo. I tried to talk, several people that we ride with into going. And I signed up. I had all the hotels booked. I was ready to go. And I think actually everybody started worrying about me. My wife kept saying, hey, somebody's got to go with Caleb. Somebody's got to go with Caleb. And after riding it, and then like the Armadillo guys said, David, Jim Spooner is a beast. And Sean Smith, you can go out and do that thing solo. Man, that you deserve a star. You probably deserve 3 stars by your name, because I don't know if I could have done it. I was glad Luke was with me.
So that's how you found out about it. And we talked a little bit about your prep. Just take us through your ride.
Okay. So, day one, we're heading up there the night before. We stayed in Tremont, couldn't get a hotel in the lab. They were booked up. But looking at the weather and saw there was some rain in the forecast for day one. And we had, had the talk with each other and thought about actually messaging you and thinking, maybe we should hold off and skip our day off in Pocatello and wait. But in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't, because that second day, our day off in Pocatello, it probably rained even harder and more than day one. But day one, we started out, kind of had a hiccup right off the bat. Caleb had his radio on kind of the outside of his vest, and the battery fell out before we even got to the Tour of Idaho border sign. So we had to backtrack a little bit.
I was hitting the button. I was like, Luke, I took a left. Luke, I took a left. Nothing. Look down, my battery is gone. We were, 2 miles in?
Yeah, we weren't even to the border sign yet. So luckily we found it. That was real fortunate to find it. And then he put it inside of a pocket and didn't have any more issues with that. But the whole ride kind of from the border, up that old Baldy, Weston Peak, the rock slide, there's lightning and stuff going on. We knew a storm was coming. We got started pretty early, but we knew something was coming. And we get up there on Oxford Peak, and luckily the lightning had stopped. And so we headed out there and got that challenge photo. But as we headed off Oxford Peak and around that north side, the rain just hit, and it pretty much rained all day one from that point on. And
you guys luckily, had a sucked day one.
Yeah, it was a rough day one. Luckily, I think we got over to that West Elkhorn and started riding around that, and it was pretty slick. But I think if we would have been any later, it would have been even worse. And we made it around there and headed up Kent's. And like we mentioned to you, the only day we rode pre-road was day one. We did ride day one to Inkom. We didn't ride the whole thing, but So we knew what Kent's Canyon was like, but with that rain, it was a totally different trail with those rocks and the mud and just being slick. It was a beast getting up there. And of course, the photo at the top of Kent's kind of tells it all. It was pretty rough.
It was bad. I don't know how many times I crashed going up Kent's, but it was bad.
Yeah, it was slick. Luckily, fence line wasn't quite as bad. The dirt must be a little bit different, so we got through fence line okay, and pretty much clear over to lava wasn't too bad. Just raining. It was just miserable, just getting rained on the whole time. But and then the boundary trail out around over to Robert's Roost, there was some slick parts on there.
Slick stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there was that one section.
Luke buzzed right up it with fresh tracks, or probably because he's a better rider. But I tried 4 times, and it finally got to where I couldn't pick up my bike because I would slide. Your feet slide, so you're just sliding down the hill. It was a mess.
Yeah, so luckily we got through that. And even up Robert's Roost, there was a couple tricky parts with all the mud and being slick, but we made it up and over that and got to Incan Pass pretty early. We were making pretty good time and started headed down that single track, South Fork of Inman Creek. And all of a sudden Caleb radioed me and said, my bike's not running. And so I headed back up the trail and he could smell gas. And, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Gas was coming out the radiator. And we looked up under the fuel line, had a little nick in it. So we spent some time and fixed the fuel line, went to fire it back up, and gas is still coming out of the radiator. So I was like, I don't know what's wrong with it. We ended up taking the whole thing apart, and there was just a little pinhole way up high where it goes into the injector, and that we couldn't see, that was just shooting gas into the radiator. And we only had just a little bit of weak hose that we, Jimmy rigged it up and it limped into Pocatello that night. And then the next day in Pocatello, going out to the power sports store to get a new fuel line, it failed and I couldn't go then. And so I had to park under a tree while Luke went and bought a hose clamp, and we were just soaked. Day 1, day 2, all that you could use to define those 2 days is just soaked.
Yeah. Luckily, we had that day off, though, because we had to sort out a lot of those issues, getting that fuel line fixed and getting things ready for that second day. But that was good to have the day off. Yeah, then day 2, we listened to Martin, kind of got a late start, let things dry out because all that rain that happened those first couple days, and that was good. So, yeah, we got up there.
We planned on getting that challenge point that day, though.
Yeah, we did miss that challenge section on day 2, but I think it would have been a muddy mess if we got up.
Yeah, it would have been horrible. Yeah, you didn't want it.
Yeah, so those trails going up, though, to Scout Mountain are awesome. That's some great single track. And, out there, trying to think what else. Oh, we saw a moose that was paralyzed in the road out there on the Sublet Range. It was kind of crazy. What some other eventful things on day 2? Mystery route was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was kind of
nailed your mystery route too. It was really good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it was a unique way to navigate through that, and it was just enough. There was just enough questions that you had to be sure which way you were going, or else you could get way off the track, and then who knows? You'd have to backtrack till you were back on it, I guess.
By the way, Armadillo actually did a pretty good job on their mystery route as well. But since they bragged about it, DJ had to have something to say about that. But they actually did a fairly good job on their mystery route. You guys nailed it. And about half the teams this year, it was like boom or bust. Half the teams nailed it, and most of those people had no trouble with the rest of the route. Some people that didn't nail it got through, but people that really flailed hard on the mystery route, it ended up being a pretty good predictor of what was going to happen later on. But, again, you guys did a really good job.
Yeah. So the only thing I'd say, too, about day 2 is the rain was nice in the desert. Once we got out of American Falls, that wet sand was awesome.
Yeah.
And the temperatures were great that day. So because of the little bit later start, though, we did get into Arco a little bit late. Still early enough to get a meal there in Arco, but it was probably 9:30 or so.
Was that when we talked that diner into staying open?
Yeah, they were just about to close, and they were awesome and stayed open for us.
They were way cool. What was that diner called? Because they were awesome.
I can't remember. Just as you come in right on the bend there, but they were pretty awesome. And
All
then,
right, so day 3.
Yeah, day 3. Let's see. So we got up pretty early day 3. I love the 4-wheeler trails coming. You do Arco Pass and then all those 4-wheeler trails up through the pines and Sands Canyon, whatever. Those are really fun.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, even though they're double track, they're awesome trails. And we got down after Wet Creek Basin, decided to do that first bonus loop, Bear Canyon, or I can't remember what it's called. We did that, so that was great. Got a bonus point there. Didn't really have any issues, just good riding over to Wild Horse and into Ketchum and sitting at the gas
Was the
station.
homeless guy holding up the sign?
Yeah, we ran into him at the gas station in Ketchum. So, yeah,
He tracked us down.
Yeah, he didn't try to talk us into Custer or anything, but we did end up making a mistake. So we left Ketchum and went up those trails and got there towards the end. And we were going to make it into Smoky Bar pretty early by like 5 o'clock. And we're sitting there at that junction to do that 3-person route down into Big Peak Creek. And we sat there for 5 minutes or so discussing it. And we made the mistake of going down there.
Oh,
that was that about ended the tour for us.
Yeah, that was pretty eventful. We went down. It's pretty washed out dropping down in there, but we made it down into Big Peak okay. And then those beavers or something have created a bunch of beaver dams down in there, and it was just a mess. And then it was raining and hailing, and so we're soaked from all the going through all the thick brush and through the river. I don't think we could have been any wetter than we were just swimming in the creek. And we muscled our bikes through there and got down into Big Smoky. And Caleb, I go across Big Smoky and look back, and he's about halfway across, and his bike's laying over in Big Smoky Creek. And he's picking it up, and he goes to hit the start button, electric start, or the start, and just click. And we were worried he just hydro locked it. So I run out there. We're already soaking wet anyway. I run out there in my boots and everything. We pushed that thing over to the side, and we thought we were screwed. We thought we were going to have to take everything off and flip it upside down. And luckily he thought to kick it, and he kicked the crap out of that thing, and miracle it fired, and we got it going. So
good deal.
We were jumping up and down.
Yeah, we were celebrating pretty good. So
we got up into Smoky Bar and walked in, and we just drowned rats. We're like, we made bad decisions today.
Yeah, there was the other team out where the buses don't run, and the Flying Cougars doing a T2. They were sitting in there, and Kaylin, they all just looked at us walk in, and they're just like, what did you guys do? Yeah. Luckily, we still made it there. It was still like 6:37 or something. We made it there okay time, and Kaylin is just awesome. That's all I'll add to day 3 is she's just amazing. She busted out a hot meal for us right there and dessert, and takes us over to the cabin. It's got a propane heater, shows us how to dry some stuff out. She was just awesome. It was amazing.
We were worried because everything was soaked, and we were able to really dry out. And Smoky Bar saved us.
Yeah,
Kaylin saved us.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That guy, the homeless guy that holds up the sign, neglects to tell everybody that he's a world-class motorcycle rider who rides those trails all the time. So when he's telling you, oh, yeah, there's no problem going down to Big Peak Creek. The water's low this year. Oh, yeah. Custer, look out. Yeah, I was there with Mike Boughton a few weeks ago. You just got to pay a little bit of attention. That guy, I'm telling you what, man, he's out to get you. He's not your friend.
Yeah, listening to Coleman Stowe's PBR, man, I totally can relate. They had the same thing. So, yeah, we made that mistake. But then day 4, I mean, only thing I can really remember that stood out to me is it was really cold that night. It rained a bunch more at Smoky Bar, hitting the cabin roof. But we had the awesome breakfast burritos that fueled us that morning. And it sucked having wet boots that day. But we got up to Mule Creek, and there was a little bit of snow. And then even over on Grand Prize, we had probably a half inch of snow climbing up Grand Prize. So wow. that was kind of cool. Got some cool pictures with the snow and stuff. But then you drop down and start heading up those Little Boulder and Big Boulder, and it started getting warm and everything's drying out. And by the time we got to Sawmill, we were hot, eating lunch there. It was quite a nice day and turned out pretty good. But I don't know what else about day 4 you remember, Caleb.
No, yeah, that's when it started getting a little bit smoother for us, and we started rolling a little better,
Yeah,
less eventful.
Yeah, we got that bonus at the end of day 4, that bonus loop, and so I think we had like 3 points by that time, end of day 4, and then day 5. Trying to think. Oh yeah, we headed up. There were some trees down. We had to, push our bikes under some big trees on some of those single tracks before Eddy Basin and stuff. But then nothing real eventful. Just there were some awesome trails on day 5.
I like day 5 a lot.
Yeah, day 5 was a lot of fun. Yeah, that challenge section, that was our first challenge section. That one's a little long, a lot of road, but the single track on day 5 was just great. Then we got out to the 45th parallel, and we hadn't seen any sign of any roads being closed, especially that Salmon Ridge Road. And so we messaged you, Martin, about that. So we headed up to Salmon Ridge Road, and it looked open, but we wanted to get that bonus back at Sheephorn Lookout or whatever. So we headed back, got that bonus, and then headed out and up into Salmon to get our tires. Got there pretty early before they closed. And Josh, that's another person, dude. He was Josh Bird. He's an awesome dude. Hooked us up with we got it front and rear actually, and he did both of ours pretty quick and got us out of there, and it was just great. New tires were awesome.
Josh is the man.
Yep. Anything else, Caleb?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
So day 6.
Day 6. So yeah, we headed up, and yes, the Ridge Road was open, so we didn't have to do that backtrack on that single track. There's a bunch of logs down on that single track off that right there by the lake lookout, and we avoided that and did that other single track up there, Moose Creek or something, I think it's called, and that was a good trail. There's some swampy areas, but that was a fun trail. Got into North Fork pretty early and headed up, got up to Butcher Knife and Divide and did all that. And we listened to your advice, Martin. That's probably why you think we were in your head. We got up there to where Ditch Creek was, and we heard, Jim said it was pretty tough, Jim Spooner and some of these others that were before us. We decided to just ride out to where those first big switchback where we could see Allen Lake. And so we took the picture at Allen Lake and looking down there, and then we went down Axe Park and headed down Axe Park, and then Granite Mountain Lookout, and just kind of went up the Twin Ridge. Those were 2 really fun trails, the Twin Ridge and up to the ski resort. Those were great single track trails. And then
were those Spooner trails?
Yeah, Spooner did those. And then just headed down the highway to North Fork. We got to North Fork pretty early, so it was awesome to be able to kind of get some rest and get ready for day 7.
That's what I was trying to convince everybody to do this year. I told everybody, just ride the Spooner route, take the 2-point hit, get in early. It'll benefit you more because you're going to have a long day 7, 8, and probably a 9.
Yeah, and we knew we had those 4 points, so we knew we could afford that a little bit. So, yeah, day 7. Trying to remember anything real eventful happened. I mean, there was those good trails getting up to Divide and then across the Nez Pierce and Magruder. I mean, that's a long ways across that wilderness, but it was good. Nothing too eventful. We had great weather day 6, day 7, even day 8.
I'm trying to talk my wife into buying a property on the Selway now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we went down into Elk City and then took that G route up out of Elk City, and that's a fun little single track going up there to Anderson Butte. So we took that route and had some extra gas on and Gatorade bottles of gas, and headed down. Yeah, saw that Selway River going down into Lowell. Sun was just setting. It was really pretty. So nothing too eventful. Day 7, day 8. Got an early start, did Pete King Creek, and trying to remember, did it rain on day? I don't think it did rain on day 8, but I remember being.
What day was it? We were under that tree, and all of a sudden it started to lightning, and it was not. That was 3, but then it rained again on 9.
Oh yeah, day 9's the day it rained again. That's right. But day 8, yeah. So we pretty uneventful out to Fish Butte there, and. Good weather that day, and then we headed down that trail and started coming up Fish Creek, and that's pretty overgrown, and just the dew and stuff. I was getting pretty wet being out front, just riding through all that thick brush, and I think we saw a bear scat probably every 50 feet on that Fish Creek trail. There was
That's
just tons
crazy.
of bears. I think one bear I scared up off the trail running up through the trees. I think we saw 6 different bears throughout the tour running away from us off the trail. But yeah, Fish Creek was pretty thick, and then and that hill, that's pretty fun trying to get up those switchbacks on a loaded bike. But we made it up there and headed out those roads out to Weatis guard station, and Weatis is a good little trail going out to that Pierce.
That 20
Creek
trail
Road.
is fun.
Yeah, that's a good trail.
A little bit of side hill exposure in a couple spots, but it's generally a really nice, fast trail.
Yeah, the trail was a good trail. And then we went up Windy Ridge. So I remember, I think it was Coleman Stove. They made it up partway up Windy Ridge and ran into some downfall trees and stuff. So we headed up Windy Ridge knowing we might run into some stuff. But we made it all the way up to Windy Bill, at least what we thought was Windy Bill. There's a Forest Service sign, Windy Bill. Great trail, and it even had some nice bridges crossing those first couple creeks, and then all of a sudden we just started running into down trees, and we cut a couple dozen trees trying to get across that trail, and I just went walking out around the next few corners, and there was just tons more, probably hundreds of trees down. So we just said, there's no way we're going to be cutting our way across this with hand saws, and we actually tried to go up and go on the Windy Ridge and find that other trail that you had mentioned, and I could never find it.
We think we could see it, but it's grown over and it's pretty sparse.
Yeah, there was a trail kind of on my maps, on my topo maps, and I was on it, but yeah, there's all these little pine trees growing up right in the middle of the trail. Didn't look like it'd been used.
It sounds to me like the little bridges are on the right trail, and it sounds to me like it either didn't get sawed, or there was some team that actually managed to get all the way up on Windy Bill. I forget who it was. They said, yeah, we eventually found the right trail and we got up there. But then when they got to Windy Bill, it wasn't sawed.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we were on Windy Bill, and it just hadn't been sawed after that first mile or two. So we decided to head back down and go up around Scurvy, and it was getting dark about the time we got to Scurvy Lookout, and then we still had that whole stretch into Superior. So we got in a little bit late that night.
Those water boards going up to some of those lookouts, I'm just like,
oh yeah. all around.
If they weren't there, the trail would be washed out. So
all around Elk City.
But some of them are big, man. When you're coming down a hill, you got to watch yourself, or you'll end up 15 feet in the air.
Yeah. You can't really jump them on a loaded tour bike like you can on another bike. But yeah, those were kind of fun, slowing you down a little bit. But yeah, that was our day 8. But then day 9, we woke up that morning and it was raining in Superior pretty good.
By day 9, when we started seeing dark clouds and rain, it just drops your will to ride.
Yeah, we were remembering our day 1 and day 3 a little bit when we saw that rain. So we kind of got what we had of rain gear left on and headed up St. Regis and Saltese and started headed up the mountain to state line there. And luckily it stopped raining. So it was just really overcast and foggy. But we got up there and headed along all that, and then did the Stevens Peak and stuff. And right as we come around Stevens Peak, the clouds just kind of lifted, and we got some awesome pictures there right on Stevens Peak with the colors on that west side there. It was really cool. And then we ended up going down, and we needed another challenge section. So we did the challenge section on day 9. And I'll just say maybe about that is all those day 9 trails were awesome. But I'm glad that Jim or Andrew, whoever decided to do that challenge section the way they did, because if we were doing that the opposite way, that first trail we dropped off of, that was a steep bugger. Trying to come up that would have been just a nightmare.
We were going down that thinking, if we have to come back, we're not coming back. We're going no matter what.
So we did that challenge section. That was fun, and all those trails. It did start raining on us again that afternoon, but so we were pretty.
What were you going to say, Martin?
All I was going to say is that Andrew and Jim are super reliable dudes. When they say it's like this, it's like this. So I had complete trust when they told me, especially Jim, who's ridden the tour, but even Andrew, who has not yet. He's planning next year. He has a sense of this is what's acceptable and this is what's not. And when those guys laid it out for me, they're the first two guys I've ever run into that I completely trust. If they say the trail's good, I believe them. And it sounds like you guys are telling me that they were good trails.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
And the direction that they chose to have us ride them in were great too, because there's some that are pretty steep, and going the opposite way would have been pretty tough. But yeah, the rest of that afternoon was just awesome. Day 9, like Armadillo said, those trails are just great all through there, just south of Wallace, and didn't really have any other major issues, I don't think, on day 9.
Wallace is awesome. Donna's awesome. Yeah. Coming in, all of a sudden you just come in out of those mountains and start seeing those, just the unique architecture and stuff that's going on there in Wallace. And I was just like, man, this place is way cool.
Yeah.
Don't go there in the winter.
Really?
It gets dark there at 3:30 in the afternoon in the winter. Little kids are coming home from school and it's pitch dark at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah. Then Donna, she came out and greeted us right on the sidewalk as we pulled up. She's just amazing. Had treats and all that kind of stuff for us. So she's great.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're at the last day, day 10. All you got to do is not fall off your motorcycle somewhere and you're good to go.
Yeah. Day 10 was pretty uneventful. Yeah. We didn't have to do any major stuff because of the point situation, and got up, to some of those lookouts, and all the clouds and stuff were in the valley. So we got some pretty cool pics on day 10. All throughout that day with the fog kind of down low as we were up high with the sun, and didn't have any, issues that day. Just rode the trail and stayed on the road and didn't have any crashes. And I did forget to mention on day 8, though, that was my one bad crash up on Windy Bill. I had a log that either got caught in a spoke or something, but shot me off the trail right into a pine tree. And I sprained my wrist pretty bad. And I remember just those last 2 days were pretty rough that's probably why we look so bad up on Sundances. And
we were beat. And that crash was scary to come up on. I go down and Luke will say, "All right, yeah, nothing's broken. Let's go." But I pulled up and his bike was piled up upside down and he was in a heap on the ground. And I said, "You okay?" And he said, "No." My heart dropped and I was like, oh man, we were out in the middle of nowhere.
Heck yeah.
But luckily nothing was broken.
Yeah, luckily we were able to still ride. So other than that, day 9 and 10 were just amazing, other than just being sore riding through it. But we ended up making it up to Sundance. And
every time we would pass like the challenge section on day 9, Luke's the eternal skeptic. And I would say, so now that we've passed this challenge section, we got it, right? I don't know. Even waking up on day 10, we got it, right? I don't know. Got a long way to go. But day 10 was there was some cool trails and stuff and roads, but it was pretty uneventful. We wanted to try out that challenge section just because we like single track. But by the time you get up there, single track, you look at it and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. No. Yeah, why risk it? What I try to do, and again, you guys were, like I'd say, get your points now so that day 10 you don't have to worry. And you guys are like, yeah, not everybody's that way. Some people are going, do I have to? Do I really got to do this? And yeah, you do, because the worst outcome is on day 10, you got to make up a bunch of points. Imagine the pressure if you've got to ride everything on day 10 and it rains or something like that.
Oh, man.
You're screwed. And I try to prevent that from happening as much as I can. But again, you guys, it was like you were hardwired straight into my cerebral cortex, because you guys figured all that stuff out and your day 10 went very uneventfully. You got to Sundance, if I recall, mid-afternoon or something like that, 2:30, 3, something like that.
Yeah.
And you didn't get lost on the last road up there, right?
No.
We had the human GPS, so we were never lost.
That's right. You're the human GPS.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember who that was. I was telling my friends, one of these guys is the human GPS. Let me go reconfigure their mystery route.
Yeah.
He is. You'd be hard pressed to get him lost.
That's awesome. That's a great skill to have. That's part of it. Look, I really appreciate you guys coming on. And once again, I told everybody in all the daily briefs while I was watching you guys, it was one of the most professional jobs I've ever seen of doing this, because you guys didn't do anything except pre-ride day 1. The rest of that stuff was brand new to you. And yet at every point, not really knowing what was going on, your navigation was spot on. When I looked at your tracks, I hardly saw any intersections that you blew by. I mean, you guys, I could even see where you slowed down and stopped a little bit rather than blow past something and have to turn around and go back. It's the best job of navigation I think I've ever seen on a tour of Idaho. So massive respect for that.
Thanks. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Well, welcome to the community and congratulations. Anything else you want to say to everybody while we're here?
I was just going to say, I kind of looked at that video of us up there on day 9, and that blowing bubbles stuff is real. And I thought, well, we'll get in the truck to drive home and we'll just crash. We'll just fall asleep. But we couldn't sleep. Your bodies get used to getting up and riding. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 days after, all of a sudden, I couldn't stay awake anymore. I've never been so tired. But it's just weird how your body acclimates to getting up and riding every day. Yeah. But it was awesome. Martin, we really appreciate you and everybody else who contributes to this. It was the adventure of a lifetime. We loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Luke. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just like to thank you for all the work you put into it. All those that have put out stuff too, like Michael Knight. I actually reached out to him and got some info too, and they're all just great dudes. Jim Spooner as well. Very courteous in their time and questions I had asked them, and just all the info that you put out there on the website, and then all your PBRs for each day. It was just really helpful and just an awesome event, awesome thing to do, awesome adventure. So just thanks for all the work you do.
Well, thank you. You know, it's guys like you that make it. I tell everybody this is the best community on the web, bar none. It's the only place on the internet that's not at least 75% full of bullshit. You know, this community is full of people that can walk the walk, that have actually been out there and done all these great things. And you can talk to just about anybody. And it's remarkable how little we all disagree in things. Like, we agree on about 95% of it, and the 5% that we don't agree on really doesn't matter. And the thrill for me is getting to meet guys like you, getting to shake your hand. Awesome job, fellas. You really did a good job, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you for the next 10 years or so before I croak.
Yeah, thanks. I'm working on the shirt too.
Awesome. Hey, your sticker is going with me to Key West. There's exactly one sticker from one team this year that's going on the back of my toy hauler. So when I'm sitting down there fishing off the back of my toy hauler in the Gulf of Mexico, that your team sticker is going to be right on the back of that trailer. So the manatees will all see it.
Nice.
I will add too, you're picking our name. Your mom was just perfect, because Caleb, if you knew him, that's just something he says, just snarky to people. Anything they say, you know, your mom did that or whatever. So it fit perfect.
My wife and I are that way all the time. We taunt each other with your mom every day, a dozen times. It's just too bad that the fires prevented us from putting Big Dick Trail on day 9.
Oh, man.
There's a trail up there called Big Dick. And Andrew and Jim were like, oh, man, it's just right inside the burn area, because your mom does Big Dick would absolutely be the headline of the century.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. I tried to not get too crude with them, but yeah, my wife said, how did he know to name your team that? And I was like, your mom told him.
I actually went through your Facebook page, and you had something snarky on there, I think, that said your mom. And I said,
yeah, it asked where you went to college or where you get your education. And I said, your mom goes to college.
Yep. You know what that means, right? You know what that taunt means?
No,
I had to look it up. I mean, I saw it in Napoleon Dynamite, and I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
It means your mom is like a teenager.
Oh, is that it? Well,
That's
no, that ruins it for me. I don't know.
I'm sorry I ruined it for you. But now, you know how I feel when I go to bed every night and I'm looking for like the wires in my pillow.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Thank you very much. And I'll look forward to seeing you down the road. We try to get everybody together every once in a while. And I don't know when that's going to be next, but maybe over the winter sometime.
Yeah, we'd love it.
All right. Cheers, fellas. Thank you once again.
Hey.
All right. So there you go. PBR Monday season finale. Once again, I want to thank everybody that showed up this year. You know, every team that showed up, made an effort at it. Massive respect. I've told people for years, and people don't believe me on this, I don't care whether you make it or not. I care if you had fun and if it made your life better in some way. And these teams that finish, it's awesome to have that sense of accomplishment. And, the adventure of a lifetime, people say that a lot. Yeah, I've had a bunch of those. I've been a really lucky man. My entire life has been filled with things that every time I finished them, I said, man, that was the adventure of a lifetime. Lotus Flower Tower, adventure of a lifetime. Nose and the Salaith and Northwest Face of Half Dome, adventure of a lifetime. Tour of Idaho, adventure of a lifetime. I know how it feels. But you know what? Sometimes I did some things that didn't work out, and they were also incredibly adventurous. When I went to Lotus Flower Tower, spent a month at a remote alpine big wall right on the Arctic Circle, made it 400 feet from the top and had to turn around and go back. I don't consider that an unsuccessful adventure at all. So you all that showed up this year, out where the buses don't run, teams like that, you made a deep run into it. Good on you. It ain't going anywhere. It changes from year to year, and next year it's going to change substantially, but that just makes it better. We always try to improve it as we go along. The goal has never been just to make it harder or anything like that. It's to make it better. And I stand by the claim. I didn't try to just wire together the hardest trails in Idaho. Anybody can do that. What I'm trying to do is wire together the best trails, something that really give you a sense of adventure when you ride them. And I think, we came up with a good route this year. Got one more team out there. Best of luck to them. And I'll keep doing daily briefs as long as they're out there. But then it's off to 2022. And I'm really excited about next year because some of the trails we're going to put on are just dead killer trails. You all are going to love them. Thank you very much for showing up for all these PBR Mondays. I look and I see the next day, sometimes these things have been viewed between 500 and 1,000 times. And it blows me away. But it's a testament to what you all think about this. And it's what keeps me going. Running these things, the good part is getting to meet these people that come through. The bad part is that anybody that's ever run an event knows it's a hassle. Human beings have a difficult time organizing themselves into a slow-pitch softball game. So when you try to run something this big and this complicated, there are some hassles that go along with it, but those hassles are nothing compared to being able to talk to you all at Sundance, to being able to have these guests on PBR Monday. Now, I could do without Armadillo telling me how boring one of my challenge sections is. But other than that, everything else is pretty good. I see David Powell laughing. All right, you all. I'm out for a little while so I can get back to my family and ride my motorcycle for myself. But I'll be seeing you all in daily briefings when I can. And in a couple months, we'll fire up Hot Stove League. I'll make sure that I get all the teams that I didn't have a chance to get on. And I think that's 2, maybe 3. We'll get those 3 out in Hot Stove League. Then we'll start talking about next year's route. Thanks once again for spending a better part of the last few months with me here on Monday nights. I'll be seeing you. Cheers.